You're live, Madam Chair.
Calling the meeting in order of the Greenville County Oversight Ad Hoc Committee, and I'll call that to order, and I will ask Councilman Shaw, would you mind leading us in prayer?
Sure. Father in heaven, we pray for your guidance and your basically your hand in helping us to understand these issues, and that we would do things according to your will. In Jesus' name, amen.
Amen. Thank you. Yes, we're waiting on some minutes, but I'm going to go ahead and look at this first category. We can continue on because we need that at the end, I believe. So
Okay.
what we're going to do now on item 3 on our agenda, we're going to look at the selection of departments to do audits for. Last time we were here, we talked about looking at efficiencies in the following areas: the Sheriff's Department, EMS, the accounting part of the building that we built, this building we're sitting in, doing a full accounting of the cost of the building, and then fourthly, we looked at roads. So what we need to do today is, we talked about all of these, we looked and made motions on all but roads. So we need to do a confirmation of these 3, the sheriff's, EMS, building, and if we want to consider roads, it would now be time to entertain a motion to add that or to keep it at the 3 departments we originally discussed. So that's kind of where we're at right now.
You want to do roads? That's a lot.
Yeah, I'm okay with keeping it at 3 right now.
Okay, all right, so if that's the case, and we're going to do sheriff's, EMS, and building, we will need a motion to do that.
Okay, I'll make a motion that we just do the 3 sheriff, EMS, and building.
Okay, we passed sheriff's department last time.
Okay, then
Yeah,
building and EMS.
Building, EMS, and sheriff's.
That's correct.
Those 3, okay. So we're going to put roads off, so officially, we're going to do those 3 departments.
Yes.
Got 3. Perfect.
Thank you. All right, so we have a motion.
Yes.
All right, I'll second the motion. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Okay, so that passes. So that determines the departments that we're going to look at for efficiency: sheriff's, EMS, and building. Okay. All right, now what we're going to look at is the next step in the efficiency audit is to look at doing RFPs, which allows us to send out bids to accounting firms in order to get a bid on these particular items. And we're going to build out what we're going to look at auditing on efficiency. So I have looked through several different types of controls we need to look at, and of course, y'all can add at any time, but this is what I found. First off, internal controls. These would be financial controls. So we could review the system procedures for expense items, including budget adherence, expense claims, which would include high volume, high value things, with all support items, which would be approvals, receipts, justification, et cetera. And also look at indirect costs of things like cleaning, tech stuff, supplies, any kind. We'll look at these type of things, how those type of expenses are controlled, and are we being efficient, taking advantage of discounts, things like that. But looking at all the areas of those financial controls and internal controls. So is there anything outside of that? Oh, also too, looking at how we're collecting money, public monies and property that's collected through the department for different things. Anything y'all would like to add to that? Okay. All right, so work environment. these type of efficiency audits would look at things such as scheduling, overtime, absenteeism, staffing levels, work schedule efficiencies. Are we taking advantage of our staff in the right ways? Do we have the people in the right departments? Things like that. But focusing on the efficiency of the work environment. Do you have anything there?
Yeah, I'll add, excuse me, Madam Chair. In what we're doing, we're trying to do this in a way that is constructive, and so it doesn't come out of the sheriff's office budget. So, and what this does is we're looking at determine the appropriate staffing model. So, and there's many different ones. One of the most popular is the per capita approach to staffing, where it's officer to population ratios. And then there's another one, which is a minimum staffing model, which is predetermines a specific level of staffing within a budgetary system, which means this is your budget, this is the staffing you're allowed. And the other is a workload. So if you have this many officers, you got this many calls, it's assigned call ratio, respondents as far as you have non-emergency calls, you have emergency calls, staff calls, how many officers are deployed at one call. So those are the type of things in this type of thing that we look at. And what that'll do, that'll give us an idea that will have some comprehensive data that says to justify not only just a pay raise, but I mean a minimal pay raise, continual, not just one time, because as the sheriff mentioned that this has been going on for 5 years as far as the budget issues, and so we're trying to alleviate that. So we'll understand that, hey, once this happens, we hope to get the information that we can use and forward that to the sheriff, of course, everybody in the county, that will allow us to not go through this type of situation every budget cycle. That way, it will be more efficient, I think, for the county.
Okay. Okay. You have anything to add with that? Okay. All right, the next agenda item I have is, that is work environment, but also workforce management. They're a little bit different. On the workforce management, looking at things like how do we do our performance evaluations? How do we do our PIPs or performance improvement plans? How often are we doing reviews? Can they be improved? How are we handling our staffing levels, absenteeism? Also looking at different things like when we have a probationary, procedure, how are we handling that? And early warning systems is another thing where if you have a situation where maybe a employee is not doing so well, what will tell us, hey, we need to step in here because we want to alleviate a problem before it gets too bad. So we can look at that, and that goes hand in hand with the performance improvement thing. So kind of, these work together, but they are separate. So.
Yeah, and I think most of that would be held within internally of the sheriff's office too. We don't want to,
Right.
Try to get to there. But, and if I may add, is this the last comment for the sheriff's department?
I got one more.
Okay,
Yeah.
go ahead. I'm sorry.
No, you're good. You're good. Control procedures. And this was just different controls over things within the office, such as like public monies and property that's acquired through confiscation, adequacy of those controls, how to improve and access, authorization, approvals, all those type things, forfeited monies, anything that is controlled property-wise, is that being done efficiently as far as the way they do it and with the personnel?
I agree. If I may,
Absolutely.
I'd like to just add one more thing before we change subjects here. Back in March, I had many rides within the sheriff's department. And then in June, when we went through the initial budget cycle, these are some of the things I added to the sheriff's department. And my proposal was on top of the 5% experience pay, 5% education. I was adding a shift differential of $4 an hour from 7 p.m. 7 a.m. Maintain vacation accrual from other agency transfers. For instance, if you came from a, say, state police force and you transferred in Greenville County, I believe what it is, you start at 0 vacation. Well, you should be able to maintain your vacation accrual at that level, regardless if you come from Fountain Inn, Simpsonville, or state police. I think that's a thing that we need to look at as well. And then incentive bonus, 1 to 5 years, $5,000 level 1. Once you get your level 1 certification, you get half of your $5,000 bonus. On your 5th year, you get the other half of your bonus. From year 6 through 7, you get a $7,000 incremental incentive bonus as well. And that's your mid-level, for stability in that 5 to 7 years. Then from 8 to 10 years, you get a $10,000 bonus on the 9th year anniversary and the 10th year anniversary. That gives you your first line leader and your supervision. That is imperative for a workforce. And along with that, at the beginning, once you got your level 1 training, you get step incentive pays for every 2 years of service. You get another pay raise. I don't understand why we don't have that. And if we do, great. But I think that's something we can have. And then retiree health insurance. I've been working on that since March. I had someone set up to come in and explain the system, how we can get retirees either a stipend or some type of incentive for they don't have to go and pay out of pocket for all that type of insurance if they decide to retire for something they did on the force. I think that's just total blatant. We need to work on that. That is a major priority. But again, we'll have to work this out with the sheriff and the administrator and, of course, the council. But those are the things that I proposed that never came up and no one wanted to pay attention to. So that's why I will make that for a record.
Okay. All right, so anything else that we think we should look at on the audit side of things in these areas? No? Okay. All right, so that RFP will be what we just discussed. And next we go to EMS. There are basically a lot of things in EMS that you're going to know a whole lot more about than I am, but I looked at different things: documentation reviews, policies, procedures, training records, communication plans, so that we can better be more efficient within their structure. So talk a little bit about that. What do you think we should do there?
Well, I'm just one, but a lot of the efficiencies within the EMS division is, again, you got call volume, you got technician utilization, efficiency, and scheduling, and then you have ambulatory services. You got to come into the finance side of it. So there's a lot of areas you can really go to, but I think the initial phase, and then we can get more guidance as we go through. But
Right.
we can kind of go from, as a start, use that.
Okay. Employee interviews and also workforce management, which was also under the same thing in the sheriff's department. Look at those same things, which would, how do we look at improving workforce interviews? How do we post the job positions? How do we effectively schedule? All those things. The same thing as the sheriff's department, because there's some things that are just generalized to a department, period, and that's one of them. So we could look at efficiencies there. And the next thing would be process observation. Is what we're doing effective? Looking at their process. I know we have had a lot of talk about how right now a lot of the EMS are at different places in the county, and some are being parked over here and they're 45 minutes to 50 minutes away. Reviewing that process, how do they determine where they're going to be at in the event that they have a call? Or are they broken up in areas? Or they just, when they finish a call, do they just go somewhere and wait for the next call? We need to, look at that. So that would be process the process observation on the EMS and how they get to these calls. And then the next would be, again, work environment, which was another one we had over here as well. Scheduling, staffing levels, absenteeism, overtime, looking at all those, again, on EMS. Just looking at the total cost of the department, and looking at the financial controls as well. So we just need to know what it's costing us. Does it make sense based on what they're doing? And is there a way we could just tweak some scheduling, some inefficiencies, and save time and money? Anything to add on that? Good with that? Okay. All right, so, and then the third area would be looking at the building. So, Steve, if you want to kind of go over what we would be looking at on the efficiencies there.
Thank you. At the September 11th, 2025 meeting, we passed a motion that I had put forward that contained about 4 items. It was determined that those 4 items are in that information can be gathered from the finance department. So we did make that distinction. So in effect, the information that we were trying to get regarding my questions would come from the finance department regarding building this building and the surrounds. The last item on there I would want to add FELO parameters. So for the fee in lieu of taxes, that information could also be gotten from the finance department, and is to find out a review of the parameters of our FELOs, which are, my understanding, is like 20 to 30 years old. They haven't been looked at it in a modern context. So to look at our fee in lieu of tax parameters, which it's written in some document somewhere that we have. Anyway, that would be that's what I would want to see. Specifically with all of these, I think the product of today would be to ask the office that makes the request for RFPs to maybe prepare us a draft of one of each of these 3, and then that we could review at our next meeting.
Okay, that sounds good. So basically, even though we can pull this information from within, we'll have an auditor do this of the building too. So we won't pull this ourselves on the building one.
Well, correct. In fact, mine, I think I can maybe draft up a letter to vote on or whatever, requesting the things I asked for from the finance office. I don't think that's going to require an auditor. I think it could be answered pretty easily, and we can look at it. If we need help, then we would do an RFP for the county square numbers.
Yeah. Well, what I would do, we're going to have to review the FELO at the next meeting as well. But I will say this: if we're going to do an audit, we have to do an audit. We can't let our finance team pull these figures because they've already been gone over before. So we need a third party to pull these through our finance together and put them together. Because we're looking at doing an audit. So why would we just pull it? Does that make sense? Otherwise, it wouldn't be on our agenda because it's not an audit. Does that make sense?
Well, it's a review or an oversight, and just it would give us an idea of whether we would want to look further into it. I don't want to go down a road where we see some pretty obvious numbers and they're cooperative and we're getting information. I don't want to necessarily hire an auditor when not exactly sure what we would be auditing there. I just want to see. Here's an example of, say, for instance, what does this building cost? Well, I've heard professionals from other counties say that that's important. Whatever this building ended up costing is important to their decisions in this jurisdiction within the county, as far as they're planning to do things with their taxpayers and their, their buildings. So I think it's very important that we just get a good, clear number of what it costs to build this. And that way we know, and we can make future decisions, and then and our neighbors can make decisions also.
Okay, so this is really just going to be a review versus an audit. Is that what we're saying?
The motion I did last time was simply, it had very specific questions. It was like, please, all of the, what did it cost? What were the outflows of money? What were the inflows of money?
Right.
If we can get that information, then we can make a decision whether to get more information.
Okay.
So I just think it's something we can do because it's not super complicated information that we're asking for.
Okay. All right. All right, so now we have these actually two RFPs and a request for information and a review for the building. Is that what we're saying? Okay. All right, so we need a motion on that. To handle it that way. We need a motion to develop the RFPs, one for Sheriff's Office, one for EMS, and then a review.
Do the motions have to be separate, Mr. Attorney, or can they be all?
They could be one motion. Can I just ask something, just so we're clear over here?
Sure.
At our table, is this going to full council, or at this point, would this just be, you want the draft RFP to stay within this committee until you get that back and then possibly send that forward to full council?
No, what we're gonna do is get the RFPs prepared, and then we have to present that to council. Once we have the RFPs, I guess we could send them out, get the cost, and then present it to council, but I do think we will present just a copy of the RFPs. What were y'all thinking?
What would be protocol, Mr. Attorney?
Okay, so just so we're clear, you're asking staff to come up with some RFP proposals?
Yes,
And,
to get them written up
okay,
at this
and then
point.
would they be, would you want to have another meeting?
Yes, we will have another, we will
Before
have,
that goes to full council? Okay.
yes.
So the motion would be to have staff prepare the draft RFPs and then get the information that Shaw's asked for about the building.
Right.
And then have another meeting where possibly that could then go to full council.
Right.
Final action.
Right, so all we have voted on at this point, though, is to audit the sheriff's EMS and the building. We have not voted yet to do the RFPs.
Right.
So we need a separate motion for the RFPs.
That's correct.
But we
Okay,
can do them all at once.
Yes, you could do it all in one motion. That's correct.
okay, all right. All right, so we need a motion to do that. I'm a chairman, I can't make it, or I would.
Make a motion to create RFP for the three individual, or two individual items.
Okay. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Okay. All
And
right,
just to clarify, those two are going to have the subcategories that you just discussed.
right.
So two RFPs with,
Those subcategories, yep.
We have to approve these.
And let's see here. Do we need to approve the September 11th and September 4th minutes? Do we need to approve that?
You will need to approve them, but there's not a line item on your agenda to do that.
Okay.
So we'll have to do that at the next meeting.
Okay, all right. Okay, all right, so we'll approve those and this one at the next meeting. We'll have 3 minutes, okay. All right, then.
and then I would make a motion to, for the county square questions, is there any additional motion, or we could write a letter to them? I mean, I think,
I think it's clear that you've asked for
Okay.
information from staff about the building.
all right, thank you.
All right. So do we have any public speakers tonight? Okay, no? All right. So, okay. Yes, so if we do not have any public speakers, then we have one motion left.
Motion to adjourn.